The Sky This Month, with your host, Dave McDonald.
Welcome to The Sky This Month. I'm your host, Dave McDonald, and this is May 2026, and it's a great month. So much has been going on and is going on during this month of May. Behind me, just so you know, this is a picture recently taken by the Artemis mission as they were coming around from the backside of the moon, coming around and looking at planet Earth, where you and I live. And this was an image that was a real looking live view out their window that no person, no human being has ever seen before, because they were so high above the lunar surface, whereas the Apollo missions were a lot closer, 60, 70, 80 miles above the surface. Each mission was a little bit different. I think Apollo 13 had the distance record above the moon for being in orbit or going around the moon. But now the Artemis mission was a couple thousand miles above the surface of the moon, which gave them a great panoramic type of view. So that's the background image I've chosen for the show. But speaking of the moon, this is the month of May, and we have a blue moon this month. And so what is a blue moon? You've heard the phrase, once in a blue moon. Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the color of the moon. You know, every once in a while, if the atmosphere is just right, it may have a bluish hue to it. But in general, the moon does not look blue. Originally, the blue moon by the Farmer's Almanac definition was it was the third full moon in a season of 4 full moons. And that seemed to be a little confusing. So back in 1946, I think it was Sky and Telescope magazine that stated something that was different, and it was in a way a mistake, but it seemed easy to understand. So pretty much from 1946, it has been adopted as what a blue moon is. And a blue moon is the second full moon in the same month. So we have one in May, and we'll talk a little bit more about the dates in a moment. And so blue moons are not that rare. They're not as rare as a solar eclipse in any one place, because we know that for New Hampshire, the next total solar eclipse is going to be on May 1st, 2079. So that's kind of rare. But blue moons every 2.5 to 3 years, you may get a blue moon. So it's not that often, but it's not super duper rare either. And so, but if you want a blue moon on the same month, like we're having a blue moon now in the month of May, it may be 20 years. So it might be 2046 before we get the next blue moon in May. Now, a full moon to a full moon, or new moon to new moon, from one phase to the same phase the next month takes 29.5 days from full moon to full moon. So poor February with 28 days and on a leap year 29 can't reach the 29.5. So February will never have a blue moon. So sorry about that. Now, as I said, this month we're having 2, and they have to be, beginning of the month and the end. So in fact, May 1st, we had a full moon, and the moon was in Libra, the scales. And then our blue moon will be happening on May 31st, the last day of the month, in the constellation of Scorpius. And I'm going to show you that towards the end of the show. I'm going to show you where the moon resides in Scorpius. Now, as you look at this image here, and you see my red laser dot, I thought while we're looking at the moon, it might be fun to point out the soccer player on the moon. And so right here, you see the soccer player's head, and that's the Sea of Serenity. And we make our way down into the body, and this is the Sea of Tranquility. Further down to the kicking leg in the front here, as the player seems to be running sort of up, is the Sea of Fertility. And the soccer ball is kind of looks like a ball. It's kind of the roundest sea we see, and that's the Sea of Crisis. So here's my Moon Psychology 101 lesson to help you remember. You find the soccer player, which you may need to have binoculars, because you can kind of make it out without binoculars, but binoculars will help you see it much better. And it's nice when you have serenity in your head, right, in your mind, serenity. It's nice when you have tranquility in your body, right, tranquility, calmness in your body. And then you're kicking the crises out of your life. And that's my Moon Psychology 101 to help you remember these seas. Now, why are they called seas? Well, years ago, the predominant theory was the moon came out of Earth, and Earth is 74% water, so there should be a lot of water on the moon. So before we knew any better, it looked like, well, maybe these darker spots, it would make sense, are like oceans, or in Latin, Maria. So they got those names of the Sea of, or Mare, whatever, Mare Tranquillitatis, or the Sea of Tranquility, or the Sea of Tranquility, and such. So that's how that happened. But then we found out, well, actually these are dried up lava beds. The moon was very volcanically active at one time, and this is largely a darker material called basalt. And this is, as I mentioned, the body is the Sea of Tranquility. And as you look at it in the lower left area is where the eagle landed, right? Apollo 11, Houston, the eagle has landed. And that is the area where Apollo 11 landed, and Neil Armstrong piloted the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module, to land in the Sea of Tranquility right there. So, kind of cool. Then, I thought, since we're talking a little bit about the moon, I'd share an overview with you of the Artemis 2 mission. It's a short video, around 3 minutes, and from NASA. We thank you, NASA. And so have a look at kind of an overview of the Artemis 2 mission to the moon, which just recently returned back to Earth. Okay, so again, one of the neat things about that mission is, as you saw some of the images from the far side, and I have far side underlined on this slide because the far side is opposite of from Earth that we don't get to see. But it's incorrectly called the dark side because the moon has a dark side. All of the moon is dark for 2 weeks. All of the moon is lit up for 2 weeks. So it's better to refer to them as the near side and the far side, and not the dark side. So that's what that's all about. Well, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 1961, Alan Shepard was the first American in space. And he went up basically on a ballistic missile. They took a warhead off and put on a person. So you see that image in the middle is the Mercury Redstone rocket with the Mercury capsule on the top, and that red pointy thing on the very top is the escape rocket that would lift the capsule off of the rocket if something was going bad. And the good news is nothing did go bad. So Alan had a 15-minute flight up into space, came back down, splashed down in the ocean, and Alan Shepard, hero from Derry, New Hampshire, and that's why Pinkerton Academy in Derry, New Hampshire, their mascot is the Astros. Good choice. So we honor Alan Shepard in May for being our first American to go up into space 65 years ago. Now, 10 years after his flight, he's golfing on the moon. He's the first American. He went up and he came down, and the next thing you know, almost 10 years later, he's golfing on the moon. I understand that his first swing was a whiff, but then I believe he hit successfully two golf balls, and one of them, he said, and it went for miles and miles and miles. And with 1/6 the gravity of Earth, it would go and travel a lot further than it would here on Earth if it had, a nice connection and a good speed to it. Maybe it did go for miles and miles and miles. So we honor Alan Shepard in May for being the first American in space, the first to golf on the moon. As far as we know, the only to golf on the moon. And if any of you are aware of somebody else who's golfed on the moon, please let me know. All right, now we're going to transition a little bit in a moment. I took a trip with some students from Belmont High School. As you know, I run the astronomy club at Belmont High School in New Hampshire. And I opened a trip, which I called the STEM trip to London, up to the whole school. So students could choose to come with me to London, and here they are. And this is at, obviously, Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a couple-hour drive outside of London towards the west, near Salisbury. And so that big stone you see right behind the group on the left side is called the heel stone. And then you see the circle of stones in the background. And that heel stone is lined up with the sunset of the winter solstice, which shines through the triathons that are back. Now, I don't have a picture of that because I wasn't there for the winter solstice. You can look up plenty of images online. But I thought I'd just show you our group from Belmont High School at Stonehenge. And this is a closer image. I took this image closer to the stones. And if you see my red laser dot right back here, kind of just to the left of center, is where the heel stone is. So we're kind of looking through the stones from the opposite side, looking almost, I'm not exactly lined up because I wanted to be sure to see this stone, but where the sunrise for the summer solstice would take place. So that's kind of interesting. And then I thought I'd take a selfie with the stones, and so there I am. I do want to actually, you know what, I just want to go back for a second. And so you see on the top of this stone here, there's like a knob there, and that is, it's amazing when this was started to be built, 3000 BC, so like 5,000 plus years ago, and they had these stones that came from 35-ish miles away. How did they get there? They're like 22 tons a piece, and we're to say nothing about the blue stones, which came apparently from Wales. Not quite as heavy, but still massive. But notice this knob on the top here, and it's kind of like a sort of tongue and groove where things were measured and made so that when they lift it up, how did they lift it up? That's a mystery. So you're lifting up this 22-ton stone to fit up on these upright stones so that a hole that's bored in the bottom of this cross piece will match and fit over this knob that's on the top of the upright. And they did it. Amazing. So fascinating place. Read about it if you have a chance to go there. It's definitely worth the trip for sure. And so nice time at Stonehenge. And then another place we went to right near London, it was at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. And maybe you've heard of GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, which now has also the name Zulu for military or astronomical or navigation time around the world. Zulu, because when you're navigating around the world, who knows what time zone you're in? How are you going to know to correct? Do I add hours or no? Newfoundland has an hour-and-a-half difference from Eastern time, for example. They're an hour-and-a-half ahead. And so how do you keep track if you're flying a plane or navigating a boat, even driving a car, depending on what country you're in? We can all go back to Greenwich Mean Time, and Greenwich Mean Time is basically the world clock, now known as Universal Time Coordinated, or UTC time. And so another great thing that I find very interesting about Greenwich is not just that it's the world keeper of the time, but you notice where I'm standing. I'm standing on this line, and that is the 0 longitude line, and I'm facing one direction, and then I basically turned around and somebody took a picture of me facing the other direction, which goes into part of the observatory. And up on the wall here you can see, and basically it says Prime Meridian, and one way is the Western Hemisphere and the other way is the Eastern Hemisphere. This is the 0 longitude line, which goes right through the building and right under my legs. And then over on the right side, you see my feet, one in the Eastern Hemisphere and one in the Western Hemisphere. So if you had a map and you followed that 0 longitude line through Greenwich, you have a pretty good idea of exactly where I was. So that was very cool. And then another thing, when we were talking about time, you see this building behind me, a part of the Royal Observatory. You see that red ball on the top. Well, that ball was hoisted up, and it took roughly a minute for it to fall. And that was so the ships out in the Thames River would be able to all coordinate their clocks or their chronometers or their watches to know exactly that everybody's on the same time. As soon as that ball fell, every afternoon at the same time, everybody could set their clocks and their watches. So the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England, very, very important for the meridian, for keeping track of where is the 0 longitude line, and for keeping track of time. So that's all pretty neat stuff. And then you have the meteor shower coming up, the Eta Aquirid Meteor Shower coming up on May 6th. And I have the word plus there just because it can be some days after. So if you are able to get out May 6th, the night of May 6th, early morning May 7th, you may have some luck seeing some meteors, but even if it's May 8, 9, 10, you still may see some. Now the Eta Aquirid Meteor Shower, Eta is the star, excuse me, in the constellation of Aquarius, and the radiant point where all the meteors seem to be coming from would be in the constellation of Aquarius. But you don't have to wait for Aquarius to rise above the horizon. If you're close to midnight or after midnight is better, just go out dark, tell your neighbors to turn off the lights, let your eyes get adapted for 15 or 20 minutes in the dark. Don't stand in the driveway with your neck wrenched back. You know, sit in a chair, better still, a lawn chair. It's getting warm here in New Hampshire. It's pretty warm now. And you can lay down or even put a sleeping bag on the ground. Put down a tarp and lay down and enjoy for an hour or so. Get some donuts, some hot chocolate, and just look up and see how many you can see. Because during this time at the beginning of May, we have a waning, a waxing gibbous moon happening. It's important, a waning, meaning there's less and less lit up every night, a waning gibbous moon, that some of the fainter meteors may be more difficult to see. But it's worth a time, and you're likely to see more meteors during this period of time, May 6, 7, 8, 9, than in general any other particular random night. So I hope that you get a chance to enjoy the Eta Aquirids. And again, better midnight or after is a little bit better. So what we're going to do is transition to the night sky and talk a little more about it. I hope you enjoyed that Artemis video. And again, the image behind me is from that Artemis 2 mission as they were coming from behind the moon, and there's Earth where we live in front of us. Artemis 3 is going to be more experimenting of getting docking maneuvers down. It's going to be around Earth in 2027, and then hopefully the year after, 2028, Artemis 4 will be the group of astronauts 4 that will go to the moon, and we'll have the first moon landing in quite some time, well over 50 years. So hope you enjoyed that little chat, and we're going to transition to talk about the night sky, what you can see in your backyard, and we're going to talk about some planets, some where the moon might be, some constellations and planets that you might be able to see, and where will that blue moon be on May 31st. Okay, so let's have a look. Well, we're looking at the night sky. I know you don't see these animals, these images in the sky, but we're facing south. This is May 14th, around the vicinity of 10 o'clock at night. But the sky doesn't change a whole lot. It changes about 4 minutes from night to night. So this is May 14th, middle of the month, around 10 o'clock. Now that it's getting lighter, longer, we need to go later to get it dark. So right here, we have Leo the lion, and we have that backwards question mark, which makes his head, and then the bright star here, Regulus, represents the heart of the lion, and then we have this triangle representing the hind haunches, and the tail star is Denobla. Now I'm going to just see if you remember, you find the Big Dipper is going to be fairly overhead in order to be able to find the Big Dipper. And if you take the handle of the Big Dipper, it makes an arc. And if you remember, way up above, over your head at night, is the Big Dipper, and you take the arc of the handle, and it's going to arc to the star Arcturus, which is a magnitude 0 star. It's a very bright star. You can't miss it. It's the brightest star in the spring sky. It's up above the horizon. And then once you find Arcturus, then you can spike down to Spica, and Spica is the star that's the brightest star in Virgo, the Virgin, usually representing an ear of corn or a sheaf of wheat. So you find the handle of the Big Dipper, arc to Arcturus, spike down to Spica. Arcturus is about 2.5 times brighter than Spica. Arcturus is on the reddish side, Spica is on the blue-white side. It's a hotter type star. So there's a couple of things to be looking for. Middle of May, this is again facing south. And then let's move ahead to now we're May 18th. And I chose May 18th because we have a really nice view of the moon and Venus here. Now, it looks like the moon is full, but it's not. It's really a crescent moon. It's just the way the software blows up the moon so you can see it. And this is about 8:45 at night, May 18th. Now, that date is important if you want to see the moon and Venus really close to each other, May 18th. Now, May 19th, the moon moves, remember, from west to east. So the moon is going to be making its way up towards Jupiter, which is very visible, still in the constellation of Gemini. And then on May 20th, the moon will have moved past Jupiter and be towards the upper left of Jupiter on the 20th. So you've got 3 nice nights in a row, May 18, May 19, May 20, to see the moon on the 18th hanging out with Venus, and then the 19th and the 20th, the moon will be hanging out with Jupiter. And then we have, moving ahead a bit, we're going to go to May 30. May 30 at 9 o'clock. And the reason we're jumping ahead is so that you can see the planet Mercury. Now, I can't get rid of this tree in the software, or I might try a little earlier than 9 o'clock. But May 30th, Mercury, which you can see just above the horizon here, is visible. And it'll probably be visible 8:45 or so. You'll see it above the horizon. But Mercury, again, is a quest. You have to look for it intentionally because it's never just up in a dark sky like Venus is becoming and Jupiter is, and etc. Okay? So May 18th. And the nice thing is that as we get, May 30th, and as we make our way into June, Mercury is going to become better, visible, a little higher above the horizon. So, and you still have Venus here, and of course Jupiter. So you got 3 nice planets, and you can see they kind of form a line, and they're on a line called the ecliptic. Mercury, Venus, Jupiter are on that line called the ecliptic, and the sun would be down below on that same line because it is, after all, the sun that defines what the ecliptic is. So that's May 30, looking west. Again, this is around 9 o'clock at night. And now we're going to jump to May 31st, when we can talk about the blue moon and where the blue moon is located. So we're facing kind of south. We're kind of southeast is actually the direction that we're facing. And so you can see you have the moon, which is full. It's a blue moon because it's the second full moon in the month of May, and it's not too far away from the star Antares. This is the bright star representing the heart of the scorpion, Antares. So this is where you're going to find the moon, and I thought I would just throw up some artwork here so you can see that the moon is, in fact, in the constellation of Scorpius. And as you're looking at the moon and you kind of go up a ways over towards the left is the big guy Ophiuchus, the serpent holder. Tough to find the stars, but it's not impossible. And this is the 13th member of the zodiac because the sun does go through Ophiuchus. So that's where you can find Ophiuchus. And then from where the moon is up towards the right is the constellation of Libra, the scales, where the moon was in at the beginning of the month on May 1st. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. There's so much to see in the night sky. And one of the things that you see, we were talking about meteors, and meteorites are meteors that hit the ground and they make it down to the ground. You can actually touch them and such. And on Friday night at the Alan Shepard Discovery Center, June 5th, Friday night, June 5th, we're having a special program, Cosmic Time Capsules, the story of meteorites. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be a fantastic, wonderful show. And please write to me. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the show, if you have any questions that you would like to see on future shows. You see my email there, astromannh@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. So I'm Dave McDonald for The Sky This Month. Thanks for watching.